guys, it's me Darkel. Welcome back to my new episode of Deplo Podcast. If you wanna watch my old videos, just go on YouTube, Deplo Podcast, or I am on Spotify, Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. Just enjoy. And for new people, I am on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram as Deplo Podcast and even on Facebook. Deplo Podcast. If you have a curiosity, don't hesitate to contact me. I have even an email, deplopodcast@gmail.com. Today I want to talk about Andrea Meyer, the victim of the tragic event in Kongsberg in Norway. She was the ex-wife of Thomas Haugen Samot, and she is known as Nebelhexe as well. She was a musician, actress, poetess, and even a German model. She was tragically killed by an arrow, and especially by a terrorist attack. This man took the arrow and threw to the people, causing the death of 5 people and injuring other 2. She was 52 years old, and during her career she played with the project August, Nebelhexe, like her name, how she was famous for, and Haglas Rundens. She has even cooperated with Cradle of Filth, and she started the career like a female voice in their first album, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh, in 1994. She was a victim of this terrible terroristic attack by a person called Espen Andersen Brotten that was converted to Islam. She died last October 13, 2021. She loved ancient mysteries about Gothic culture, neo-folk and neo-paganism. According to Metal Archives, Andrea Meyer wrote film scripts, horror and satire. She began writing in 1995. She was a pagan and criticized and viewed as patriarchal religions that, according to her, inhibit peoples in nature. And this book that she wrote about was about Germanic spirituality and mythology, the ancient fire of Midgard. Her bands were August Menor, Andrea Nebel, Hagalas Rundens, Nacht, and Nebelhexe. And she cooperated, like I told before, with Cradle of Filth and Satyricon. So I will try to talk a little bit about this terrible death that she was victim of this tragedy. According to an Italian newspaper, this person was mentally unstable. The police said that this person chosen randomly these people. He didn't have a right goal. He just wanted to kill these people. This man didn't plan which people he should kill. According to the police, he will be in a mental institution and not in jail. So this makes me think that this man was very mentally unstable, probably mentally ill. I don't have words for this tragic killing that Andrea Meyer was killed by this. So after I talked a little bit about how this happened, I would like to talk more about the music. So basically August with Nebelhexe probably did just this album called X-Ray Imzvelik Fisternis. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce very well in German. Let's listen about it. So now I will tell you my opinion about this album of August. I really like the beginning of this album, very synth with the very nice effects here. I really like this synth. I could perceive that this album is very scary and experimental. So no drums, no guitars, nothing. It is very interesting as an instrumental track, like the first. Let's see now with the second track. Really like the sound of the keyboard in the second track. Makes me think a little bit to Satiric on first album, Dark Medieval Times, that when there were certain parts with the synth and keyboard, which is very interesting. The vocals effect here with the echo sound makes me think I'm inside a cave or at the haunted castle, which is very interesting, the effect, and very spooky. Very experimental as an album. It's a pity that I didn't find the lyrics of this album, otherwise I would have analyzed with pleasure. But searching around the net, I didn't find at all. The only bad thing of this track is that it's basically too much repetitive, especially the chords of the keyboard. Her voice is very, very loud, which is very good. The third track starts with a sort of violin or cello. It is very broken sound inside the dark castle, inside the cave, or it's like a ghost that is moving through poltergeist, the objects of this house. I perceive a sort of wind effect, and even the vocals that makes me think like a demon that is dancing inside this house, which is very theatrical and experimental. The synth is very present. The echo sound of the voice creates perfect the sound of a ghost or a demon, which it is very interesting. It's interesting how the musician wants to scare the listener, and it's very interesting to perceive this as a threat to the listener. Very low notes on the fourth track, and this flute effect on the keyboard, and even the thunder to represent the darkness. It's interesting, this mix of these sounds, violin, flute together with the voice, is very interesting to represent darkness, because this is pure darkness. And of course it's not a music for everyone, because it's very experimental. So guys, if you're searching for death metal, black metal, drums, guitars, this is the right room for it. Seems like a sound of despair with this voice of a woman that sings the desperation, the darkness, the depression, all together into this thunderstorm effect, which is very interesting. It's a classic sound to listen when it's cloudy outside or when it's raining and you see the fog outside. It's very experimental because you can imagine even the environment around you, which is very dark and depressive, and it's like the world is stopping. Everything is stopping to admire this music. Everything is slow. Doesn't exist the time into this space, into this music. Everything is eternal. These drums in another track makes me think a lot to even Grishnak, Vargavikernes sound. Makes me think a lot to his music, which is very ambient track. And this screams, it's like for me to represent darkness, but the madness that is inside the mind of a person. This makes me think how a mind could be damaging for themselves or even for the other people surrounding. This mix of voices for me represent the demons that people have inside. It's like these dark voices that you feel inside your mind that makes you explode after a while. It's something that you cannot control and make you move inside. And somehow this music is even comfortable for the mind, because it's like somebody into this music is near you, that you're suffering. It's like there is a person that understands you and understands your darkness and all your problems and all your suffering, which it is comforting even this music for many. Interesting this other track with these steps sound like something is coming near. These voices as well coming near. After this bombardment of voices, I can breathe again. Or not. The sound is very mono. Everything is mono. Low quality. This dark ambient, this low quality sound doesn't exist. The stereo, high production and good production sound. Everything is dark, everything is inside the cave, inside the large room, to represent these ghosts that are haunting this dark and evil place, like a castle, like a cave, like something obscure that the listener is in. These voices are talking with each other. There is a communication even between these evil demons. This represents a sort of dialogue inside the mind. The person is talking. I can perceive in this track this communication between these voices. Makes me think even to the concept that hounds the people that were listening, that make people fall into a sort of trap of darkness. Interesting, the other track, something that is coming near, and then this laughter, these voices of women that is calling the victims near them. And then there is this dialogue that for me happened inside the mind. These dialogues very extreme and obscure. Screams, voices, evil voices, and all together to find a sort of balance, or maybe not. This other track, instead, there is a sort of slow violin and voices, of course, that continue to create this dark and evil and experimental atmosphere. The voice this time is backwards, it's being recorded backwards, which is very interesting to create this darkness and evilness, and it's like a Satan call, this voice. Thank you to have participated with me on a new episode of Deblo Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell, like and share with other people my old episodes and even this one if you liked it. Otherwise, if you wanna write me, just go on Instagram and Facebook because I am even there. If you wanna listen to my audio episode, you just go on Spotify, Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. But for now, see you soon guys!